Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special celebratory event. We're celebrating the launch of Embodied Philosophy's new journal, TARKA. And so I'm joined here by Nina Rao and Evan. And Nina Rao is one of the contributors of this first issue of TARKA. She contributed a really lovely article on the practice of Kirtan. And it takes a look a little bit about her life and a little bit about how she got started with Kirtan and Bhajan practice. And then it goes and transitions into a really beautiful exploration of the practice of Kirtan, some of the perceived obstacles and how you can sort of work through them, as well as some practical kind of considerations about what is included in Kirtan practice in terms of instruments, a little bit about mantras, as well as some common Bhakti mantras that are generally chanted in the practice of Kirtan. So hello, Nina.
Hi, Jacob.
And hello, Evan. Of course. So we had talked a little bit about, before we went live, about what we're going to talk about today. And those of you who haven't heard the interview with Nina, I did an interview with Nina on the Chitheads podcast about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. Wow, time flies.
I don't know. I actually don't know. I think it's a long, long time ago.
It's crazy.
It was before my second album came out, so that was already 2 years ago now.
Oh, wow. So you've had how many albums since then?
Two. I mean, I've had, since I talked with you, probably another one. So I've done 2 in total.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. And so one's in the pipeline as well?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's
we'll get those
mind.
too. It's still working its way out. Well, so we had thought about, or we were talking about what we should talk about today, and one of the things that you had brought up was really talking about how we can bring Kirtan practice to more settings. And so I just wanted to kind of open the floor to you about what you wanted to share with regards to Kirtan practice and some of how it relates to what you wrote in the article.
Right. Well, your magazine is on Bhakti, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the topic. And an expression of Bhakti and devotion is chanting. And my first experience, which I talk about in the article, was as a child in India, in my grandfather's home, not knowing that my grandfather actually could sing or play or, any of that, or even my parents and my aunts and uncles, but it was part of the way they were raised. And though my parents wanted us to be a little bit more Western oriented for our own sake in terms of getting a job, education, and so forth, they had this experience of being together in community, hanging out together in a spiritual way without it being sort of formal. It's informal, it's fun. You sit together, hang out, sing, chant these names that open your heart. You don't even realize how it's working. And the best part is you don't have to know.
Right.
And, there's a natural, innate interest and ability in human beings to sing, to keep a beat, to find a tune in your minds, and to enjoy it. Right? That's natural. And I think that to have that as a natural expression of your devotion, because then the rest of our lives is spent figuring out how we channel our devotion in our everyday lives, in our spiritual practice, towards other people, to this universal spirit that binds us together. Then we start thinking a lot, but you don't have to think when you chant. And what I liked about the way my first experience was is that though my grandfather could play harmonium, everybody else was just kind of sitting and clapping together and being together in a very natural way. And people write to me all the time and say, so, I got a harmonium, I've been listening to your album, and I wanna chant. So I said, go chant. There's not, you don't need anything else. Like, we're sitting here in this space, and I started out in my grandfather's home. I started singing on my own in my own house in front of my altar. And then at a yoga class, the yoga teacher said, why don't you come and sing? And so we kind of got together. And the beauty of it is that you don't have to buy a ticket to go anywhere. You can hang out with the people in your neighborhood, invite people to your home, have chai, or not. And and sing. You just have to know a few mantras or even just one. What about chanting Sri Ram Jai Ram for an hour?
Yeah.
And you don't need anything to do it. That's kind of what I want to share with people. Evan did this for years living in Ram Dass's house, and Ram Dass loved to hear chanting. And so whoever happened to be coming through, he would chant, and whoever was there would join in. And that's kind of how it's been for, I think, all of us in this community. And the more people listen to chanting, they come across it on Spotify or YouTube, and they don't really know what it is. But you want to be part of it.
Yeah. So what would you say to, I'm just thinking of those individuals who are like, I can't sing, and it becomes sort of an embarrassment because they think they can't hold a tune. Yeah. So, these people who that serves as an obstacle, what would you say to inspire those people?
Well, it does help to be able to hold a tune, because if you're going to lead, you need to be able to lead people. I totally get that. So find someone who can sing a little bit, or what people do also is like probably we'll do later today in this live stream, is that I have heard people say, well, we're just going to turn on your CD and we're going to sing with it.
Beautiful.
So that's another way of doing it, Yeah, but you don't really have to know how to. You don't have to be a trained musician. I'm not.
Yeah.
I happen to like to play harmonium, and I can play what I sing, but I can't. If somebody asked me to accompany them, I wouldn't know how. But there are a lot of great musicians out there, who are now chanting, and they can play all kinds of things. But you really don't have to. You don't even need to have a drummer. You can just clap hands. Everybody can keep a beat. You got a heartbeat.
Yeah. So Kirtan is based on the repetition of mantras. So what's the significance of mantra for Kirtan?
I think, as far as I understand it and what I've read and I've learned from other people, the actual word mantra, so man comes from the root of mind. And in the Indian tradition, mind is also the connection of heart and mind together, like where wisdom resides. Yeah. So it's not just something you read or know in your head. It's an understanding on the inside. And that inside is the combination of your heart and mind. So mantra comes from security or securing. So it's like securing the space of your heart and mind. So it's a protection in some ways. It's considered a protection. But it's also the innate wisdom, I think, encapsulated in a sound. And by the repetition of that sound, you can transform yourself by an inner knowing. And it's not so much a knowledge that comes from reading necessarily. I mean, there's nothing against reading and study. All of that is good. Yes. All of it is good. It's all a part of our getting to know ourselves, because that's what all of this is about. It's like, what is our true nature? And these sounds are representative of our true nature. They also have other definitions. So, for example, if you say Ram is a mantra. Ram is a combination of two sounds, so R and M. And Neem Karoli Baba would say, when people asked him a question, or even my Guru Siddhima, she would say, we'd ask her a question, and she says, I only know two things, R and M, which is Ram. But she actually knew it, she knows it. So by invoking this mantra, we are giving ourselves, we have faith that we're giving ourselves the opportunity to open into that wisdom. But Ram also has other connotations. I think this is him. I don't have my glasses on, or that's Vishnu, right?
Vishnu, yeah.
So he's an incarnation. Ram is also considered an incarnation of Vishnu. And so is Krishna, and so forth. So then you can enter into the other stories of Ram, as in the Ramayana, for example. And then when you read the Ramayana, then you learn about this dharmic character and all the other beings in the Ramayana, such as Hanuman and Sita, who is Shakti, and their separation, and how through the flow of grace of Hanuman they are brought back together again. And we use this as a sort of a navigation or a map for our own lives. So from there, You can study in all the ways that you want to, but as a practice, it's very simple. You just repeat the name, keep coming back to it, no matter what your thoughts might be that are coming through your mind, because they will be, they're there all the time. We don't know where they come from, how they leave us, but there's a moment in every practice we do. You have a meditation practice, so you know that as you sit, your mind is getting pulled away, but the mantra will pull you back if you allow it to. You have to keep your mind on the mantra. So that's the importance of mantra, I think, which makes it different from music.
Yeah.
Just music. You have music to help you enjoy, but it's the mantra that's doing the work on you and that you're allowing to do on yourself.
So when we're chanting mantras in Kirtan, we don't have to be so concerned necessarily about the meaning of the words, but really about the vibratory experience. Is that a bit what it's about?
I mean, you don't even have to be concerned with that.
Right.
Just be concerned with the doing of the practice, I think.
Okay.
It's not important to know the name. I think once you start to chant or once you hear mantras, you will resonate with ones in a particular way, either with the melody or without.
Yeah.
And so when you get deep into mantra practice, for example, if some people have spiritual teachers, they might be given a mantra, for example. In the case of Neem Karoli Baba, people found when they were in his presence that Ram was always chanting it. It was a silent kind of utterance, you know, and or a murmuring in a certain kind of way. And it was always going on. They found that, you know, he was always counting it on his finger, his invisible mala. And, you know, when I asked Siddhiman, a lot of people would ask her, like, for a mantra, she would say, well, I know what Maharaji chanted, so you can use that. Other teachers also give mantras. So if you go to a teacher, you can receive a mantra. There are thousands of them. In my case, I have a mantra practice of my own that I do regularly, which is called japa. And japa is chanting of mantra without music. And you can sit and use it as a method for meditation. It's also a place of refuge. You can go to at any time in the day. You can have the mantra going on while you're chanting. You can chant the mantra while you're cooking, and then you can infuse your food. You know, it becomes prasad when you do that. You can use it as a way to calm your mind before you go to sleep. It has so many. I mean, for me, the greatest thing is it is my practice, but it's my refuge. I found that that's a place where I go all the time. What was your original question?
No, that's a beautiful answer. I actually have another one, though, which is, you know, so there's the repetition of mantra, and then I know another practice that you do quite frequently is the repetition of the Hanuman Chalisa. So is there any kind of, is this the same sort of experience? Is there something sort of different between just the repetition of a short mantra and the repetition of a longer hymn like the Hanuman Chalisa?
For sure. You know, firstly, it's harder to learn. And actually, the true answer to that is that you don't actually have to memorize it. People want to. People want to because the prayer resonates with them. Just as I was talking about how you choose a mantra, often it's something that resonates with you. And then they say when you're doing a mantra practice, stay with it. So when I first heard the Hanuman Chalisa, even though it's commonly practiced in India, I actually heard it here on Krishnadasa's first album. And I said, what is this? Like, I felt the beauty of it. You know, you don't understand why you think something's beautiful. You just feel it. Right? And I felt like I wanted to learn it, and I learned it. And then when I went to India, and I asked Siddhima, I said, what seva can I do in the ashram? She said, your seva is repetition of the name. Go and chant the Hanuman Chalisa in front of Maharaji's temple. And so then, of course, it's good to know the words, because then you're playing harmonium and, like, you know, so then it's good to know it. But in your private practice at home, Ma would say to me all the time, she said, you know, you all know it, great, and you chant in a group and everything, but when you're doing a practice, read it, and it'll help you focus, because you're using all your senses. You speak it out loud, you're listening, and also you're looking. and you're reading, and then that helps your mind. Even then, maybe you get involved in the meaning of the words, and then it helps you enter into the bhav of Hanuman. Bhav being the devotional mood.
Yeah.
And Hanuman has these beautiful qualities of courage. And so when you start to read those words, the Hanuman Chalisa is chanted in India as a way of overcoming obstacles. So that could be a physical obstacle in life, like maybe you have an illness and you want to be able to help move through that illness. Or you have a lot of grief. Or you have an exam. There were a lot of people who would come to and they say, "Ma, help my son get good grades." And she would say, "Tell him to do Hanuman Chalisa every day." Like that. That would be the prescription.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So whatever's going on. So Hanuman Chalisa became the core of my practice right away because of that. There are other things that I like to do as well, but that is my root. And every night before I go to sleep, when I close my eyes, like, what's the last thing I want to do in the day? It's not be going over all the task list for tomorrow and, shall I pack my kids' lunch for, whatever it is that you think, what's the last thing you want to do? It's like try to center your mind. And the thing that I go to is the Hanuman Chalisa. What's the first thing? And, as you do your practice, like whatever mantra you might be chanting, you might even find that suddenly you'll realize that it's already going on.
Yeah.
I'll suddenly be like, oh yeah, Durga Makaja, I'm already in the middle of the Hanuman Chalisa. It just happens. And so let that be the thread of our lives.
Right. Well, I was thinking about that just as you were describing that experience, because in my experience of chanting and Kirtan and even japa is that sometimes you just find yourself as you're walking down the street, going about your day, that you're suddenly internally chanting. Yeah. And if you think about what's normally being repeated in the mind when you're not chanting, like, oh gosh, I got to get this done. Oh, why did I say that thing? Like self-critical, self-analysis. And so it's like you're being sort of re-inscribed in a certain kind of way by the divine name. And that there's got to be something healthy about that compared to the alternative, right?
Well, they say that the name is constantly being repeated. And when we do within us, because that is our true nature, those names, those sounds are who we are. So if we can start to hear those names, then we are pointed in the right direction to actually seeing what's being revealed to us as who we are.
Okay, beautiful. So we're going to do a little bit of chanting with all of you out there, and you're welcome to join in virtually with us. But before we start, I wanted to ask Evan, because Anita had mentioned that you spent some time with Ram Dass, who of course sadly just recently passed away. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I read Be Here Now, and that's the famous book that he wrote, or that was compiled around him. And it spoke to me in the middle section, in the art and the words. And what really spoke to me, there's a page 69, and it talks about, here in love we are together, together we are in love. And I thought it was a woman talking about a man because that's how my mind worked. But when I realized that he's talking about a place that is love. I was reading it, and I was in Hawaii already, and a friend of mine said, would you like to meet the person who wrote that book? And I said, yeah, sure. And he said, yeah, he lives 15 minutes down the road. So we hopped in the car. Ram Dass was sitting alone in his wheelchair in the living room. And when I walked through the door, I could already feel it. And then I went, and he turned and he smiled at me. And everything just stopped. It was like when you meet somebody with a different atmosphere, where you can tell that they are coming from a very different place.
Right.
And the rest is history. He loved me in a way that nobody had ever loved me before, and showed me that love was actually in here, like you're saying, who I really was. So I spent almost the last decade just being able to be near him at the drop of a hat, living there for 3 years at a time, and was there when he died, and felt out to be a supreme blessing because his form is now so big.
Yeah.
And his love is infused in my cells. I can't get away from it.
Of course.
Just like today.
Why would you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. very fortunate to be around such, incredible beings.
Definitely.
Ram Dass and of course Nina Rao. It's
Totally.
incredible. Yeah.
One thing I just want to add to what Evan is saying is that, Ram Dass very much, what we're all experiencing now is the loss of elders.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, starting with whoever our teachers might have been. In my case, I never met Neem Karoli Baba in the body, but I've had many teachers over time. But as you know, I've been chanting with, and I work with Krishnadas. And so my experience of Maharaji was through Krishnadas's chanting and all his stories.
Yeah.
As he is spiritually on his path, so are we all. And I was fortunate to meet Siddhimana. I was with her for 20 years, off and on. And, I consider her my guru because I have this personal relationship with her. And then we've had all these amazing teachers like Ram Dass. So now Ram Dass has left the body. Another one of our Indian guru brothers, elder brothers, KK, who was always sharing devotional stories with us, was very much a part of our community, has also left the body soon after Ram Dass did. He was Ram Dass's spiritual brother. I think it's really important to then understand that everything they shared with us lives inside of us.
Yeah.
And they learned to trust their hearts with their elders. So we should learn to trust our hearts, and in the way they trusted our hearts, like in the way that Evan felt that Ram Dass showed him love that he'd never felt before.
Yeah.
Evan you can trust that love. So trust that it's there, and then trust in yourself. Elders will come and go, and then eventually you got to trust your own heart as your own elder.
Right.
I don't know how else to say it.
Suddenly you have to come to the position where you might be the elder. Yeah.
Well, you are,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. And Ram Dass very much wanted to include youngsters in the teachings, and so one of the things that happened, and Krishnadas does the same thing, is that we want young people to be involved in the practice, and it doesn't have to be something that's unreachable. So there are this Ram Dass legacy immersion retreats where you can come and have Ram Dass's teachings, and you can chant along with a lot of us who are still around, and young people, and there are fellowships and all kinds of ways, and the digital media like we're doing today is a great way, to learn. Plus print editions. Reading is still good. That's all. I think it's wonderful that we've had a chance to meet great beings, but the more that I go to these gatherings of people, I realize that they live inside each one of us, and you can learn a tremendous amount by just connecting with your fellow person.
Yeah. Thank you, Nina. That's a beautiful note to transition into our Kirtan. So we're going to chant for about 10 to 15 minutes with Nina. And again, you're welcome to respond. Evan and I are going to be respondents, and you're welcome to chant along with us if you feel so inspired. And Nina, do you have any sort of how-tos or preparatory comments that you'd like to share with those out there as they chant with us?
No.
Okay, just chant.
The only thing I'll say is, like, when you feel unsure, it doesn't matter. And now they're in their home, so no one's listening.
Exactly. You don't have to
sing however you want.
No one can hear you.
But even when we're in a group, I always say to people, if you don't know what to chant, just sing louder.
Right.
So I thought, let's do a chant to the goddess. It was International Women's Day, or whatever, yesterday, right? And
today's a new moon day.
A new moon day. The thing, is it a full moon day? Full moon day. Today's full moon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Started last night midnight. Yeah.
Started
Got you.
last night. I mean, that's a lot. For me, the mother is symbolized by the moon, and for lots of reasons. A lot of it is my connection with Siddhima as well. But I think it's important to also remember that Divine Feminine lives in all of us. You don't have to be in a woman's body for that to be the case. It's just she is the compassionate being, and our spiritual practice is to develop compassion. So this chant is to Saraswati, and Saraswati is considered the goddess of learning, of art, of music. But also in my tradition, in my family heritage, she's also known as Sharade Devi. Sharada Devi is a temple in the south of India. And there Saraswati is depicted with a mala and scriptures in her hand. And also with, the veena, which is a musical instrument, and so on. But my understanding of her is the goddess not only of knowledge, but really wisdom and discernment. So for the best actions, the most compassionate actions, and a way to live our lives that actually feels right. So I sang this chant to Siddhima many years ago, and so the words are Namastasye,
Namastasye
Mata,
Mata
Saraswati,
Saraswati
Sharade
Sharade
Devi.
Devi.
So Namastasye means to bow. Saraswati is Saraswati. Sharade Devi is another name for her. Mata means mother. And the next few lines are Narayani Om.
Narayani
Om.
And that's what we'll chant. Namastasya Mata Saraswati Sharada Devi. 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 Namastasya 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 May the merit of our practice benefit all beings, including ourselves. May all things be auspicious. Sarva Mangalam.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Evan. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and joining us. I wanted to mention the journal one last time. That is what we're celebrating this week. And of course, contemplative practice, and particularly Kirtan today as well. You can pick up a copy of the journal in either digital or in this lovely print format that I will hand send to you myself. You can pick it up at embodiedphilosophy.com/TARKA. So one more huge thank you to Evan and to Nina RAO. And thank you all so much. And we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be joined by Hari Kirtana Das to talk about the article that he contributed to the TARKA journal. So we'll see you tomorrow.
One thing.
Oh, yes.
Why don't you tell people what TARKA means?
Oh, TARKA means logic. It also is a kind of a radical embodied discernment that is cultivated through contemplative practice. So Tarka often is associated with the refinement of knowledge that comes cumulatively over time as a result of the synergy of knowledge and experience. So I love this particular word because I feel like it's a beautiful reflection of embodied philosophy. So it's not just kind of linear logic that you might find in a Western academic classroom. It's really an embodied logic, and a logic that is really connected to the highest truth. And so the journal is hopefully inspiring that process in some way. Thank you. And and Nina,
Yes.
how can people find out more about you? Obviously, people can find your albums. One is called Antaryami, and the second one is, remind me the name.
Anubhav.
Anubhav. And those can be found on Spotify.
Spotify, iTunes. You can buy CDs on Amazon and Krishnadas Music. I mean, it's on YouTube everywhere.
Perfect.
Yeah. And on my webpage, which is ninaraochant.com, are live events that people can join, all kinds of things, all over the place in Brooklyn and pretty much around the country now.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So what's the next one coming up?
Next one coming up actually is a very interesting one that I'm doing at Tibet House this weekend. It's
lovely.
on March 14th,
Okay.
and I'm doing it with Chandra Easton, who is Lama Sultran Alioni's foremost student.
Oh, lovely.
And we're doing this interesting combination of the divine feminine in the way she studied and learned it in Lama Sultran's lineage, and my practice on goddess prayers. But again, it's open to everybody because divine feminine lives in all of us, and we're all a part of it. So that's at Tibet House. It's an afternoon workshop. And there's some retreats. I'm doing some things out in New Mexico, California, and I sing in New York as well. So.
Lovely. So you can find all that at ninaraochant.com.
One thing I want to put,
Please.
make a little plug for is something that's so close to my heart. Where I'm producing a concert in New York on May 30th.
Lovely.
And it's called Sacred Music for Sacred Forests. Because one of the things that I did before I started working with Krishnadas was I took people on wildlife trips in Africa and India. And I started a nonprofit called SavingWildTigers.org. And when I met Krishnadas, one of the first things he told me was, when he asked me what I did, was that he read the stories of Jim Corbett, who was a conservationist in India in the very, very old days. And over the years that I've known Krishnadas now, he wanted to do this benefit for us. So he's going to be chanting. He's anchoring the evening.
Oh, excellent.
But we have other music as well, some what I consider sacred music. Bob Thurman of Tibet House will come and speak on global climate reality. And I'll also have a scientist from India speaking. So I would love for everybody to join this event. It's going to be a lot of fun.
May 30th.
May 30th in New York City. And you can buy tickets through Nina Rao Chant or Krishnadas Music as well.
Beautiful. Excellent. Well, I might come to your workshop this weekend because I was supposed to fly to Mother India on Saturday, but the contagion has kept me from going.
Oh, okay.
They've canceled I was with a group and they've canceled it, so I'm staying in town.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, you should come with me because I'm going on March 21st.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
And so is he. We're going together.
Excellent. Been recruited. All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks
Thank you,
for having
everyone.
us.
Of course.
Great. Nice to see you.